Black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all. I'm blickety black, blacker than black, black, I'm blacker than black, yo, because I'm black and I'm back. Yo, I'm black and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black.
We talking about this or not?
What is that? American? Please don't. Do not put that up there. You know how much I hate that fucking novel.
Are we gonna talk about this or not?
We could talk about that novel, but I just want you to know right now, I hate that novel. Okay, I wanted to talk about that novel just to get on record that I hate that fucking novel.
I believe that I've heard those sentiments.
Yeah.
I cannot say that I hated it, but I can say.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
I wouldn't, please.
Okay, let me ask you a question. And I mean, we can get deep into this story all you want.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question. How can you not hate a novel that literally makes the black woman in that story the weakest person on the history of
ever?
I don't understand that.
Her name was cute, and I listened to it on Audible because I ain't got time to be flipping pages.
I did too. I wasn't gonna flip pages.
And the way he was saying Celestial, that was kind of cute with his little country drawl. But she got on my nerves so bad.
You know what really? No, here's what pissed me off. This is what pissed me off about this entire novel. And I mean, this was the beginning of pissing me off. Is that the fact that this woman, a black woman, who had a man, and she knows the man is in prison for something he did not do.
Couldn't have been capable of doing.
But she was like, yeah, I'm out. Really? I mean, I was so mad. Like, hold up. So you just go dip out on the dude and you know he's innocent. Like,
right. And here's the thing, even though there was that brief period where I think she was asleep or something like that, and she was like, maybe, I don't know. Girl, you know your man ain't did that.
Right.
You know he didn't.
Exactly.
If that was in his character, then why'd you marry him if you was going to be with somebody who could possibly even almost coulda, woulda, did something like that?
And apparently she's so fine that he's just going to randomly go fuck some old ass lady. Really?
And I mean, he was on some, I need to see my wife. However, let me go handle this real quick.
Right. I mean, come on, man. Like, it was just...
And I get he was locked up for many years. I get that he was locked up and he was in need. But, sir, he was on some, like, whosoever will. Like, I need to go handle this. Let me go find somebody to drop this off with. And that is exactly what he did.
Right.
Just a random I remember you from back in the day. Yeah, what? Like, what was it all about?
Wait, hold up. In his defense, she was already banging her homie. Okay?
True. She was.
I'm just saying.
That makes her a whole on her own. But he didn't even have, like, no kind of established rapport or relationship with this woman. He was just on some...
No, they met in high school.
But you ain't talked to this woman on this whole time. You ain't wrote her 15 million letters and was pining over her your whole time you was in there.
I have an open bang record with any woman I knew in high school. I mean,
what?
If I get divorced, I gotta.
I'm telling you, where's she at? Tell her come downstairs. Tell her come in.
No. I don't repeat any of the bullshit I say to her.
Right.
Okay?
She ain't trying to have it. And she's not one of these.
No, because I'm a grown ass man, and she don't tell me what to do until she do tell me, and then I go do it. But that's
right.
That has nothing
and
to do.
She ain't one of these little weak noodle back chicks like Celestial. Celestial got on my nerves just for the sheer fact that she had no resolve. She didn't take none of them vows that she said before the Lord seriously. She was out here on some. He could have did it. He could have. So I'm gonna go over here and do this guy.
I mean, like I said, to me, and then when he only in jail for like 5 years?
It was not like a 10-year sentence. I think it was only like 5. I think it was something like.
Was he supposed to get 10 years or something?
There was a longer sentence, but he got out on the shorter side, I believe. Okay. It's been a minute. And this is one of those stories that I was literally in for the second I was in it, and then I wasn't in it no more. Because I was just like, oh, okay, that's over and done with. Yay. I really, there was not anything that I enjoyed about it. Like the writing style was okay. And normally when you come away from something, there should have been something, even if it was a traumatic book, that you enjoyed about it. Even if you just enjoy the way they wrote about trauma. I saw this book in a book club, in a book group that I was in, and I was like, "Oh, look, Oprah picked it. Maybe it's good." Why did
Don't get
I?
me started on that shit.
Right, and I was like, "Maybe it's good." Oprah had said, so I was listening to it, and I was like, "When is the good part? Like, when is the good part coming?" And the fact that it's called An American Marriage made me think that somewhere in here everything was going to be okay, and I guess it was, but not for them the way I wanted it to be.
No.
And then in the end, I was like, "Well, forget her." And truth be told, I was rooting for, who is that? His dad was like a cold dude. I loved his. His father was
Big Roy.
yeah.
Big Roy. Yeah, Big Roy was.
Solid. She was trash. And I
Yeah.
mean, who raised you to be this wavering in your vows that you think that because somebody allegedly did something that you know good and well he didn't do, you have the right to just pick up and pack your bags and run and hump somebody else because the mood hit you? He didn't get a chance to jail when the mood hit him. That was wrong.
Yeah. I mean, because like I said, to me, I just felt like it was just not. I think maybe I based too much of the story on the title because I'm like,
Right.
this was the least American marriage I've ever seen because
unless y'all think all of our marriages just
she was nothing that of Black women of how they are with their men.
Right.
And I mean, and my thing is, okay, they kind of alluded to, like, they didn't come out and say it, but they kind of alluded to like, oh, he might have been stepping out on her or something.
Right.
Okay. So you telling me she went through all that, but then when he's innocent of something that she knows he's innocent of, she's just gonna be like, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna be out. Like, that just really bothered me because I just felt like that just demeaned. I just don't know any Black woman. And I know people who got on me before, and I'm like, I don't know any Black woman that is gonna dip out on a dude when they know he innocent.
Right.
Like, I can understand if
he he had to be at least 97% sure that he could do that.
Right.
And only 97 because I think if I recall correctly, she had fallen asleep. So
yeah,
she
did, but
when she was asleep that he could have snuck out the house.
Yeah, but I mean,
it didn't. The time don't line up.
Right. The chances of that happening
at 1 and they busting your dough in at 1:30 on some. He done did this. He had no time to kill nobody, clean himself up, and then come back home.
And to remember, the woman never identified him.
Nope.
She basically just said, "Well, he was trying to fix my door earlier that day."
Yeah, so I think it had to be him because he had known that my door was kind of like jacked up a little.
And you notice how they purposely, left out that the woman that accused him of rape, they never gave her color. Like, they never said like what ethnic, like if she was white or Black, because we know if she was white, then he was railroaded. But if he, and I think that bothered me as well because
why wouldn't you?
No, well,
I want to know why she didn't.
She didn't, because this is my personal opinion. Like, I've never met the woman that wrote the story, but I feel like she did that because we know if it was a Black woman, and that's another thing too. A Black woman is not going to turn in another Black person for something they're not 100% sure that person did.
Right.
You know,
not a normal regular Black woman.
Right.
Some of them was trash and probably.
And we know ain't no judge gonna believe that woman in the first place. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, but let it be,
Unless you got a vendetta, you're not necessarily out here on some.
Yeah, let it be Becky's grandmama, and then that's a totally different story. But oh my God, like I said, the only part of that book that I've truly, truly enjoyed was when Big Roy was filling in the grave. I mean, like that was beautifully written, but oh my God, I'm serious. Like, American Marriage is one of the reasons why I wrote Own Son. Like,
really? Really?
Oh yeah. It was one of the reasons because I was so bothered by that book, and I was just like, I remember sitting there thinking like two things happened. I was like, I remember sitting down, and I was thinking like, man, I just don't think this is how a story like this should have went.
Right.
And so I was sitting there thinking of an idea, like, okay, let me come up, I'm sitting there plotting out a story, and I had a different story in mind, but like remember I told you I ended up cutting like 8,000 words out of that. And but like that happened, and just the trailer for the movie Bill Street came out.
Yeah.
That trailer was so live. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I think I got an idea of what I can do, because I never read Bill Street either. And so I ended up reading Bill Street, and then I was like, okay, let me see what I can put together, to come up with an idea. And then, that's how I basically, you know, that's what, motivated me to write Own Son. So
Got it.
uh,
Own Son is a very, very good novel. I loved it, and we ain't talking about that one because we ain't talking about you. However, I feel like that was a very good, and it was very well written. And I feel like if more stories were as well thought out and as planned as that, then it would be a very good thing. I also feel like, had you ever read Sugar by Bernice McFadden?
no, actually it's on my list. I actually have the book, but I just haven't read it yet.
Okay, you got to read that one, because the way she describes things is a lot like the way you describe things, fully, the way it felt, the way it smelled, the way it touched, if it sparked a memory. And that is just as much a part of writing as the story itself. I want somebody, when somebody's writing a story, I want to be able to see it in my head. Like, there's a part in Own Son when Yana takes JS to the barbershop. I literally could smell the barbershop the way you wrote it. Barbasol, hair on the floor, guys talking in the background. And one of somebody's kids who always got a whole bunch of kids, I literally could see all the people in their places in my mind. And that's how Bernice McFadden wrote. In American Marriage, I was just like, okay, here's Celestial, here's Roy, and this is what they're doing.
And I mean, in American Marriage too, like, I don't know, now we can't just blame the author of American Marriage. I can't, what was it, Tayari or something? I forgot.
Tayari Jones.
Yeah, Tayari Jones. Because this is like something I've seen before. Even Queen Sugar was like, which was another one that was just terrible.
I have not.
But do not waste your time. But they, like, lately, I think books today, like, it's almost like they don't have endings. Like, it's like they just stop the story, and then
then you're supposed to just figure your life out after that.
Right. And I just don't get
all of this up in a bowl. There was in American Marriage did do that. You kind of got a half a piece of some type of resolution, but not much. Tiffany D. Jackson wrote Allegedly, and Allegedly ends abruptly like that.
Is that the one where the girl got accused of killing the baby?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I had to hunt down Tiffany on Twitter, like, hey sis, is there gonna be a part 2? What's the rest of this? Yeah, I need like a whole nother 2 paragraphs.
Did she at least answer you?
Yes, and she's like, sorry, there's not gonna be a sequel. Why not? You just left me hanging. Like, you literally was like, and then maybe I had it. And that was the end. And I was like, what did you do? I need to know for my sanity what you, and it was I accepted it from her only because you were wondering the whole story, so you're supposed to end up wondering. But from certain stories like American Marriage that should have had some type of finality to it, I was like, where the ending at? This ain't it.
And I mean, and it's not even, because I mean, it kind of had like that, Harry Potter 19 years later type of shit ending.
Yeah.
Where it's like she was pregnant. Like,
let's go ahead and do this.
Right, but it was just like, it was just it like I said, it just made I just don't understand
how they got there. Didn't make sense.
Right. And I mean, and to see that this book like is one
and it was like
it won the Booker Award, right? It won the Booker Award. It won.
So that's why I was thinking it would be a lit book. I was thinking to myself, it has got to be amazing. I know it's gonna be good. Oprah done put the seal on it. It's a bestseller. I'm finna get my life. And I was reading that book like, wait, what?
Man.
Huh? And then hearing it on Audible with the 2 different voices, loved it. But there was a couple times when the story just wasn't coming along, and I might have had dozed off a little bit. Then had to go back and listen to it again.
Yeah, because I will say, like, I mean, like I said, I did the audiobook too, and like you said, like, usually sometimes like a book is not as good, but the audiobook readers make it better. And I really
Yeah.
do feel like these audiobook readers made the story even better than what it was. And it was really bad. And then because they were good readers, like, you know, so
Right.
I mean, I just,
And
oh
I
my
could
God.
feel the pain in the male reader's voice, but it was like, where the rest of the story go? I'm struggling to figure out where the rest of this story is.
Right.
It's somewhere, but to me, it needed another level of complexity, and I just didn't get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I, feel
Like I
like,
said,
I
it
felt
just,
like I wanted to get it because here it is, an African American female writer. I wanted to get it and to be supportive of her craft. I support all of it. I support everything that I possibly can when I feel drawn to it. And I was drawn to this, so I really wanted to like it. And then I got it and was like, oh.
yeah, because I mean, now, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, especially as a writer, like I'm always cautious about like knocking a book because I don't want nobody to be like, oh, see, you're a hater.
Well,
You think
yours
you're right.
ain't.
Right. It's like, it's not even about that. Like, it's just being real. Like, I know so many people who have read it and they didn't necessarily like it, but they give it like, oh, well, you know, Oprah picked it. Like, yeah, but that shouldn't be the reason why you say
Right.
the book is something. Like,
Right.
like, and I mean, somebody.
We can't just, and I did it. I did do it. We can't just say, oh, she picked it. It has to be good because her track record, she's had some pretty good hits,
Right.
and some pretty serious misses.
Right. And my thing is too, like, you know, because one of my friends, she was like, well, you know, you probably don't understand it because it was basically like, I guess kind of like what she was saying was it was, you know, for women and I'm like, yeah, that's not fair because she was writing from a male perspective. And that was
Right.
one of the things that were really bad because I don't give a look. I have some friends who I call brothers, okay, that I see more than my brothers that I absolutely love. But if any of my homies kicked it with my wife as much as this dude kicked it with dude's wife, trust me, there would be that's what I would have been in prison for. I would have been in prison for whooping that nigga.
Listen.
Like, like, this is not real life.
I had to make this screen bigger because I needed to see all of this. Listen, ain't no such thing.
At all.
Ain't no such thing as you kicking it with my spouse.
Just saying.
While I'm away for a bit.
Man.
I'm sorry. I understand the grass need cut. I understand certain things need done around the house. Big Roy will come over and handle those for you.
But it ain't even big. It ain't even Big Roy. Think about it. Remember, she lived next to her mom and dad.
Right. You know what I did too. Forget about that. Your daddy could have came over there and did whatever, tightening up the bolts up under the sink and all that kind of stuff. This, to me, she just was gonna be loose. Period. Like, did you even have any morals, ma'am? Because I don't feel like you did. I don't feel like you did. I feel like you was trash. I feel like he was this much of a hole when he married you, and you just went ahead and slid the whole thing.
And remember, both fathers basically were trying to tell her that, like, yeah, you ain't keeping it 100 because,
right.
I mean, like, she really was. She
both
was
of them was like, girl. So come here, let me holler at you. She was on some what?
She was being. I hated her so much.
I'm mad you brought that up because now I'm just like, I forgot that her parents had lived next door.
I'm telling you, listen, that book, and I know people are like, man, just get over it. I'm like, I cannot get over how bad that book was. Like, I need therapy.
And I really wanted to love it. I did. There's a few books, and I'm not knocking none of them because Lord knows if I ever decide to strike out and write a book, I don't want nobody jumping on me. I feel like there are a lot of them that I want to love. Like, I read the book Queenie by Candace Carty Williams.
Oh, wow.
How did you feel about Queenie? How did you feel about Queenie?
I'm good.
Okay, so I read that book, and I'm going to tell you why I liked it. Because the whole time, I just wanted her to get her act together, and I remembered that there was some part of me in my early 20s who just wouldn't get my life together. And I'm like, Queenie, you a little old, but I get what you're doing, but I just wanted her to get it together a little bit. And because she couldn't, I was like, you know what? There are some people who just ain't gonna never get it together. And she one of them. So I was okay with her hectic, ramshackled life. I was okay with that because we all know somebody who is mad nuts, and then they got this overly zealous religious people, and I was okay with it. But I promise you, there was something about her madness that I was okay with that I could not be okay with American Marriage.
No, I think with Queenie, I don't know if you ever heard of Such a Fun Age, like with Queenie.
I've heard of it. I have not read that.
Yeah, like with those books, what gets me, especially about Queenie, is I just feel like there's this. I just feel like there's this thing that's going on in industries, like with with TV and books now, is where the Black woman has to be with a white dude. And it's so weird because it's like they be the most perfect.
Oh, Jesus, I don't get that. I don't want to get that, and I'm concerned about getting it.
And the white dude that they have is always it's the tallest, big dickest white dude in the history of white dudes. And it's like, but he's so down to earth and he understands our, like, man, what the fuck? That shit bothers the hell out of me. But with Queenie, Queenie was just dating trash, trash as white dudes and not even caring.
He was treating her like trash.
Right.
And she out here like, I don't know why it had to be like that.
Man, please. Like I said, that's the one thing
I wanted Queenie to get her life together so bad. I wanted her to get it together, and I don't think she could at all.
Queenie, man.
But but there was something about her madness that I liked. I don't know what, but there was something about her madness that I liked, and it made me feel empathy for her because she was so dumb. And I kept saying maybe one day she'll mature and things will be right. I was glad she wasn't nobody's mama.
Yeah.
But I was thinking like maybe one day everything will be okay for her. Not right now. We know she's kind of stupid right now. But I kept thinking like maybe one day, she might be 40 by the time she get it. But I kept thinking maybe one day.
I will give her this. At least she was going to see a therapist. I mean, I give her the benefit of the doubt.
She was, and that's one thing I liked about her. She was really trying to get her therapy, trying to work with life, but she just kept making what was that guy's name? Tom? It's always Tom. But I feel like she was just trying to make it work with somebody who absolutely didn't want to make it work with her. Right. And I think almost all girls can kind of see themselves in that situation. And maybe that's why I felt some type of way for her, because I know what it's like to be in a situation where you want something to work with somebody, but he ain't work for
her. I mean, and I will say, I think that's what I've heard mostly from, from women, is that it is relatable. Even if you look past the type of guy she was with, like the whole situation is relatable. So, I mean, I do understand that. It was just, I don't know. Like I said, after a while, like I said, even with, Such a Fun Age, it was just like, and like I said, as a writer, I think it's like, I just don't see how these stories are so appealing and get such massive, coverage. And it's like, these stories are just not good. Like they're just I mean, they might have some relatable, I mean, like even the mothers, even though I love the book, like it wasn't a bad book, but even the mothers, it's like, it's just
that one too, and I'm trying to call it in my mind.
And it's
it must not have been too relatable if I read it and I can't really remember.
No, well, I think the concept of the mothers, what made the mothers so good, to me, was how original it was, to where the old ladies in the church were telling the story. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though they, I mean, that there was like real good, but I don't know. Like I said, sometimes I asked one of my friends, I was like, man, maybe I'm just maybe I'm missing something. Like maybe I'm overthinking it and they're not. And that's why, I can't get any leverage with my books, because I just feel like this is just crazy to me, because it's like I read some of these books and I'm just like, man, like even if I wasn't a writer, I would still feel like, yo, this book was not that great. Like, look, people love Lord of the Rings. I think Lord of the Rings sucked.
It's good, but it's different.
They sing far too fucking much for it to be good. Okay, I'm just saying.
Did you have you read any of Stephen King's The Dark Tower series?
Actually, I'm actually doing that now. I read
Okay, have
the
you read the first
Gunslinger.
one, The Gunslinger? Okay.
Yeah, I read the Gunslinger. I'm reading Drawing of the Three now, and I'm not really liking it right now, but you know, the whole
It
series
gets
is
better
awesome.
as it goes, and once you complete the series, you'll realize that, and he's brilliant because he's a weirdo, but once you complete all of them, you'll realize every single thing he does is all tied into the tower. Ka is a wheel, and it all kind of spins and goes together. I'm getting ready to start reading The Institute next, I think it is. Or listening to all of it. And after reading his Dark Tower series, I really saw how it was good that he had a series he was working on over many decades, but in the meantime wrote other books and still kind of tied them all in. That's really good craftsmanship. Some of this other stuff people are doing. Like
are those the only Stephen King books you read though? No,
I've read almost all of his older stuff. I'm just now catching up on the newer stuff. I've read, I have a whole bookshelf at the house. Pray for me.
Yeah, because I haven't read much of his new stuff, but like his older stuff, I've read pretty much, you know, other than Carrie, which is odd. That's the one I haven't read. But
Carrie was his first one.
Yeah, Carrie was his first one.
Most like case notes. Like if you were to pick up somebody's caseworker notes, it reads kind of like that.
Yeah, because my favorite book by him, he didn't even write as Stephen King. He wrote it when he was Richard, The Long Walk. Like that's my favorite. But even with
that one about, because that sounds familiar.
That's the one where it's kind of like the Hunger Games. I always feel like the person that wrote the Hunger Games stole the idea from Stephen King, because it's like it's a dystopian where like these kids have to walk from like Maine all the way to Massachusetts.
I don't feel like I have that.
Yeah, and they can't stop walking. Like they got to walk at a certain pace, and they're not allowed to stop. And if they stop a certain amount of times, they basically get, got. And the winner of there's only one person that can win. And actually, and sometimes nobody wins because nobody make it. Yeah, but
I read almost all of his stuff. The Talisman really got me. Black House, the Desperation Regulators kind of joints, and how those two kind of tie together, but they flip each other is weird.
See, those aren't even really the old ones. Like, I mean,
old.
Yeah, but like I said, even with Stephen King, like his stories are not that great, but his writing is phenomenal. Like, I mean, because like The Stand.
How I came to love his writing.
Right, The Stand is literally the stupidest story I've ever read.
But are we living it or not?
but it's so like it's the greatest buildup to a battle that never takes place. It never takes place.
It did not. There was this whole Wizard of Oz journey, and
and then
I fell in love with Stephen King. My mom married my stepdad when I was 11, and I ain't like him because I didn't want to. But he had an enormous book collection, and up until she married him, I had been reading V.C. Andrews because that's what she had, and I was like, I'm getting tired with Flowers in These Attics and Petals on the Wind and all that stuff. So he had all these Stephen King books, and I remember I picked up Cujo because I had heard of the movie, and I wasn't really allowed to watch it, but I picked it up and I was reading it, and I found out it had cuss words in it. That's all it took. That's all it took. And I remember there's a line in there that says, I don't F for fortune, I don't F for fame, but the way I F your mama is a GD shame. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, me being 11 years old, I was like, oh my God. That right there made me like this man because he had books that had curse words in it. And he not only had that, but he had like Homer's Odyssey. He had all these books. And I felt he had all these Stephen King. So I fell in love with that. Firestarter, Cujo, Firestarter, and Salem's Lot, I think were the ones that he let me have. I had to take the dust jacket off of him, just read the book. And then he would let me read his other books because he realized I was a reader. And that was the way he and I bonded. And up until the day he passed, I promise you, he was a homie. But it was the fact that he had something that I hadn't really been used to. Because Flyers in the Attic, oh God, how much you gonna read about these siblings kissing on jaws? It was getting on my nerves. But when I saw Cujo, number one, it made me afraid of big dogs. But the writing in it, he didn't just tell a story about a scary dog. He told the stories around.
Right. And that's what I said. Like I learned so much from Stephen King, because that's the thing that I learned from him, is that it's not really necessary about the story, it's about the conversation that goes on. Like when you listen to Stephen King, or when you read Stephen King, it's like you're sitting around on the couch and he's basically just telling you, like, damn man, let me tell you what happened today. Like that's how his writing comes off. And it is just, it's amazing, because like with it, I mean, it was like he has some moments in it, and it's just like, if you listen to the audiobook, the dude that reads, I mean, I swear, man, it's just like somebody's on the phone, just like, hey man, let me tell you these crazy
these crazy stories.
Right. It is brilliant. Like, and it's just, and that's, I think sometimes that's what makes, like I said, his writing even better, is that somebody can read it, and if and they read it correctly, it's like I said, it's like, you're talking to a friend, and that's why his writing is so good. Because like I said, it's not even a good story either. Like, but the writing is phenomenal.
The amount of why this happened, backstory on everybody. Stephen doesn't just give you characters. He gives you, I got a piece of lint on me and I can't take looking at. He gives you a little piece of everybody's backstory, so that you know why they happen to make the decision that day.
Right.
And even if it's just that one random person in town who gets in a car accident that spurs a whole bunch of stuff, he writes it in a way to where it's not just one little lone person anymore. You really feel some type of way for this random stranger.
Right.
Well,
I remember him telling his story or his saying was, he was like, I like for people to fall in love with the main character, and right when you fall in love, I just tear that person's life apart. Like, that is, and that's exactly what he does. Like,
did he lie?
No, he didn't tell not one lie, but that's exactly what it is. Like, he you fall in love with somebody, and he just tears their whole life apart.
He's like Game of Thrones. Oh, you like this person? No.
Right.
Oh, you love Ned? Oh, okay. You love Ned with no head. That's exactly how Stephen writes. The minute you start falling in love with something,
it's really bad. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like even with The Stand, it was kind of like that. Like you like certain people, and then it's just like, damn, man, they're going through some shit. Like Nick, and that story was just, oh my God, like he already had it bad, and they just made it worse.
Right. All of his stories start off all night. Like, did you ever read? What is the name of that one? Where the guy handcuffs the girl, his wife, to the bed.
Oh, Gerald's Game.
Gerald's Game. Okay, the reason why we don't ever do handcuffs.
Yeah.
But Gerald's Game started off so nice and so sweet and so pleasant. And the leaves are turning and the world is good. Let's go ahead to the summer house. It's off season. Everything's fine. Go ahead and do it. It's secluded. Then it just went to hell.
Yeah.
And I was like, Stephen. And he was like, what? Like, he literally likes to paint a beautiful picture and then set it on fire and make you figure out how to get out of it.
He definitely knows how to do that.
Right. What I was most surprised was that he had also written Stand By Me, which was originally called The Body.
Yeah, he wrote that. That was part of 4 Past Midnight.
Right. When you find out that he can also write a beautiful coming of age story and Vampires Outside Your Window, it makes you wonder about his mind.
Actually, if you think about it, like, I remember him telling a story about, I mean, because I think that's called 4 Past Midnight.
Yeah.
And Shawshank Redemption is in that story.
Yeah, Shawshank's in there.
The Body, and then Out Pupil is in that. And then there's another one. And that story wasn't that great.
I'm trying to think of the one with the finger or chattering teeth.
No, it was about some woman. I can't think of her name, but it was about someone. But but the thing is, I remember him saying his agent was like, "Dude, this is not going to work out. Like, why are you wasting your time?" Because I think he was supposed to be like finishing Tommyknockers or something. He was supposed to be finishing something. And to think back on it now, like there was 4 stories in that. 3 of them are major hits. Like 3 of them are movies. Like that shit is crazy.
Right,
Like,
right.
everything that dude
Full length
touched,
movies,
man.
not shorts, because the way he wrote that,
Right.
they weren't really, really long.
Yeah, like Shawshank was like the even though the story is good, like Shawshank is really good, but it's not like near as in depth as the movie is.
Mm-hmm.
And but the body is though. The body is
Yeah.
pretty on par with the movie. Like I mean,
Yes.
you know, it's
And
pretty
that's
on par.
not usually true for his
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, because like I said, when you see the movie It, you know, they take the best parts, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, which is good. I mean, that's a 1,000-page book. It ain't, you know, you can't put everything in it.
That
But
thing is huge.
yeah, so, but that's just what it
There's
is.
another compilation book of Stevens. What is it? Nightmares and Dreamscapes?
Yeah, Nightmares and
And that one
Dreamscapes
had
and
where the things came and they was in the forest, the friends that was in the woods, and something came.
I know one of them had Langoliers.
Langoliers.
Yeah, I know one of them had the Langoliers.
How you feel about that one?
It wasn't, I mean, it was okay. I mean, I know he doesn't like it. I know he said he did. I don't mind. I think the concept of it, and that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of his stories have really amazing concepts,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the concept, like I put it this way, like if somebody said, "Okay, read this story and then write me a better story, like write me a story from that story," I could do it. Like because
Okay.
Langoliers have so much,
It's got good bones.
right? Yeah, I
Flesh is
mean.
cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was, you know, it's just one of those things. I mean, like,
What was that other story? Now you got me thinking. I need to
I
know the
forgot
other
what else
story.
was in there. I
Uh,
really do forget. I know, like I said, I know Langoliers was one of them, and I can't think of the other one.
Langoliers. Hold on, let me see. Because I had to Google it because I ain't gonna be right until I find out.
Yeah.
That was Secret Window, Secret Garden.
I don't think
Remember,
I've read that
that
one.
ended up being a Johnny Depp movie.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. You know what I was thinking of? I was
What
thinking of
the library
I was
basement.
thinking of Half Dark. I was thinking
Oh,
of
the
that.
Dark Half.
The Dark
Dark
Half. The Dark
Half.
Half. Yeah, I was thinking of that.
Do you
I
feel
haven't
like
read
that's
that.
something that could happen? Like, I feel like that story, if you write as an alter ego and your alter ego just be like, I'm done with you because you tried to kill me. And
Mm.
I feel like I liked that story only because, like, what if your other half ain't done? And you trying to like, oh no, I'm done. And your other half like, I didn't say I was done. I
Yeah,
liked it for that. I didn't like the other half was out here killing
I
people.
started it, but I haven't. Yeah, I haven't finished it.
I think you might find something good
Yeah.
in that.
Well, I know the one that I absolutely love. Now, there is one story I love by him.
What?
Like, Misery is just that's the story that I
Oh,
really, really love. Like,
that
now,
is so fleshed out.
yeah, that's the one where I feel like I most relatable. I relate to the most as a writer because you know, like I said, sometimes you really do feel that way. Like you feel like you're being forced. Like, okay, I don't know if you ever read Betrayed. Like I came up with the story Betrayed, and I tell people all the time, like,
I did get portrayed.
yeah, I invented that story as a joke
Mm-hmm.
because, like, at the time, everybody was watching Scandal, right? So I was just playing around, like, okay, since everybody watching Scandal, I wrote this little story and put it on Facebook, and everybody, oh my God, you got to write more. And so I kept writing more, kept writing more, but I never thought it was anything worth my time. And it was getting to the point where people were just like, because before people would like comment and say, think, oh, I think this is going to happen. So like when somebody had commented, I would basically just do the opposite of what somebody would say. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because somebody was like,
Getting your
oh,
Stephen King on.
yeah, because somebody would be like, oh my God, I hope this ain't another love triangle. I was like, oh, okay. So I just killed the dude that she was having an affair with. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, so I was doing all this stuff. And then after a while, like people stopped commenting on it. And I was just like, look, man, I was doing it for them. And now people, like, I mean, even today, people still ask me about this fucking story. And it's just like, I'm not doing, like, it got to the point where, like, I put the first
I think that's a series, right?
Right. And I had it on Amazon. I took it off Amazon. I was like, no, I'm good. Because I'm not going to finish it. Like, I'm not. I'm just like, I'm not.
And don't give us something and then take it back.
Yeah, it's like that. No, because
the Lord take it.
I was never passionate about, like, and that's the thing too, like, people were asking me to be passionate about something I was never passionate about. And
right.
I just,
right.
I was just surprised so many people liked the story, and I just never got into it.
Don't you kind of feel like that's the story with Roy and the lady he ended up with? He wasn't really passionate about her, but he just ended up with her.
Yeah.
And just settled with her like how you just settled for that story. I feel like that's how he ended up with that woman.
You know what? I feel like he was a dude.
And it was a fish fighting.
Man, I feel like he was a dude out of jail that just needed a place to stay. Like
he was homosexual, and he was just like,
right.
these fish ain't really biting in all these waters, but I got this one here in the boat. I'm gonna go ahead and keep it.
Right, exactly.
I'm gonna just go ahead and keep it and I feel like in doing that, what if that ain't necessarily the life he was supposed to have?
Yeah, well.
But you took it because it was the first thing you saw when you hopped off the prison train.
Right. So, all right, listen, it's 7:00. I am essential. So I got to
look. I'm essential as well, honey.
So.
What is this called? Book talk? What we doing? I hate everything about it. This has been two nerds on books or something. I don't know what we're talking, but it's two nerds talking about books.
Blackity black books. Huh? Yeah, blackity black
black books. We'll catch y'all in the next one.
And I'm black, y'all. And I'm blackity black. And I'm black, y'all. And I'm blickety black.